Okay, cool.
Okay.
Great. So we can see a lot of people joining in from different parts of the world.
Yeah, that's quite exciting.
Yeah, in fact, when I was looking through the registration list, we have interests of over 100 people. And I was just looking at the countries and I was surprised, like it's from 25 different countries across the globe.
Which shows this is something that's top of our minds for all of us. Um,
Yes. And this also shows how popular AI is in general as a technology around the globe.
no doubt about that. And equal levels of excitement and concerns.
Yes. So, Priyanka, I think we can get started as people are joining in. And, anyways, we'll be sharing the recording with the participants at the end of the session. And so, just in the interest of time, I think we can just get started. And if you can share your screen.
Sure. Yeah, just give me a second and we'll start.
Yep.
Okay, let me know when you're able to see my screen.
Not yet.
Okay, I think it's loading.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you can probably put it in slideshow mode.
Yes, I'm just doing that. Okay. Does this look okay?
This does,
That's good.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, hi everyone. Welcome once again. It's great to see you all here and being connected together for a common discussion on how an AI-enabled world is actually impacting IDs and how we as IDs have to adapt as instructional designers and in the work that we do. So before we get started, I just quickly mention that if you have any questions throughout the discussion, please post them in the Q&A section that's available under the activities tab on the bottom right. And of course, we'll take those questions, time permitting, at the end of the session. So for next 1 hour or so, what we want to do is just share some insights that we have gathered over time, the experiments and the exploration that we have done, what we have observed from the surveys and what we see as the discussions happening across the industry. So there is a lot that is happening in the AI world, new models coming up, new technology coming up, new tools coming up. And of course, the use cases are also evolving and increasing day by day. So we just thought that it would be a good time to have this one discussion around all of these and try to make a better sense of where we are with respect to AI and how it is impacting our roles as instructional designer. Before we go further, let me just quickly introduce the speakers. So I'm Priyanka Malhotra. I'm a learning strategist and an instructional designer as well as a trainer. And I've been in this learning space for more than 25 years. Sandeep and I go a long way. For more than 10 years, we've been working together. And right from the days when you were creating those 3 to 4 hours of learning on Micromedia Director and Flash, we have seen all the trends and worked on all kind of POCs and worked with clients for different kind of learning solutions using different technologies. And for last couple of years, we've been actively experimenting with AI and its possibilities in the field of learning and design. And of course, many of you have already been working with ID Assist, which is the tool that we have been developing over the last 2 years, something that we started before ChatGPT was launched. So that's a little about me. I would let Sandeep introduce himself.
Sure. Thanks, Priyanka. Hi, everyone. I know everyone is from different parts of the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Sandeep Khomne from a city called Pune, based in India. And like Priyanka mentioned, we have been working together for quite some time. And I have basically 25 plus years of experience in the learning, design, and development and technology solutions. Prior to this, I had founded a company called Exult, and which got acquired a few years back. So after that, I was just researching into AI world and came across, of course, the GPT APIs, and I was very intrigued and excited looking at them and studying them because I could see a very clear connection between this technology and where it's going, artificial intelligence, and between instructional design, which of course I'd known that for over 25 years. And I could see some connection. I could see how it can definitely benefit the field of learning and design. And that's when me and Priyanka, we started designing, conceiving a tool and product called ID Assist. And our journey has been, for the ID Assist, we have been working together for over 2 or 3 years now. And we would like to share our experiences with you all. And of course, as we move along, please feel free to share your questions in the Q&A section. You'll see under the activities on the right hand side below. And we'll try to address it towards the end. If not, we'll definitely come back over email along with this recording of this session and share with everyone. So let's get started, Priyanka. I think we have a lot of things to cover, and let's jump into it.
Sure. So in Lens today for our today's session, we're looking at how the L&D landscape is evolving with the advancements in AI. Many of you are already using AI tools like ChatGPT, ID Assist, and many others. Some of you are exploring, still in the experimentation phase, and might be thinking about how to integrate it best in your content creation process. Um, Along with that, there is a dizzying pace of technology, the evolution that's happening with the new tools coming, new AI models coming up every new month. And what we would like to do is today take a stock and try to make sense of this pace of innovation, look at how the industry is responding to AI, what it means for us as L&D professionals, and spend some time talking about these new models, how they compare in context of the ID work, and what is needed in our role as instructional designer to stay ahead in these overwhelming yet exciting times. So that's what we have up for today. But before we go further, we'd just like to take a quick poll and see how and in which specific area are you maximizing the use of generative AI model. So I'll ask you to request you to just put in your best choice, and we'll just run it for a moment before we can then publish the results.
And I think the poll also appears in the activity section, right, Priyanka?
Yeah, I guess. So you just have to go to the activities tab and just click on the poll, and you'll be able to see the poll open. See? Okay, I see the votes coming in. Sandeep, can we publish the results?
Yeah. So It's shared, Priyanka, with everyone.
Okay, so pretty distributed kind of results and not very surprising. As we can see, most of you are using it for content creation. That is what we've seen. It works best with text. Many of you are also using it for content acquisition and design, as well as content authoring. Um, but of course, the use cases actually are many more. Media generation is definitely something that is picking up with the new image generator models coming up. Assessments is something that, again, like, with the with coming up of new AI model like Claude, which has more of a logical capabilities, the possibilities of creating complex assessments, adaptive learning, all of that is growing by far. And that's what we're going to see, like, maybe you're focusing your efforts in certain areas, but then explore what more is available to us today. Something that also is important to note is how the AI industry is evolving on its own. And as you can see, the numbers show clearly that while 2023, let's say, was the year when AI was actually discovered by the world, everybody started talking about it. It is already now, as you can see, the percentage increase, a time when organizations have started integrating it into their business. Sandeep, any more thoughts around this? What stats we see here?
Sure, Priyanka. And like we can see from this screen, it's evolving really fast because it's already like 10x in last 3 years when we talk about generative AI revenue across all the corporations and enterprises across the world. And it is expected to again rise by 10x in the coming decade. So Gemini, although it's a relatively new technology, but it has the potential to really impact and disrupt every industry. And there are many real world business applications right now where AI is making a very big difference and delivering value to both businesses as well as its customers. We can see AI already in action, let's say in terms of chatbots or customer care applications, even in cybersecurity software, recommendation engines, in popular consumer apps like you see across Amazon or Netflix. Then in finance domain, you can see it in action in fraud detection. If we talk about healthcare, then in drug discovery within healthcare domain, coding is another big application of AI in the software and IT industry. So much so that it's expected almost 30 to 50% productivity increase when it comes to coding using AI. At the same time, it's really becoming apparent in the robotic industry and, of course, the education and L&D, which we are very much interested in, and which will talk about how it's impacting the L&D industry as such.
Definitely, Sandeep. And I think that's where our major interest lies, on how it is changing and transforming the L&D landscape. And so obviously changes happening in many different areas and in many different dimensions. If we were to just talk about and concisely about where all we are seeing the main changes and what it means for us, uh, world is definitely reimagining learning with AI integrated design, development, and delivery. So as we can see, it's not just being used for content creation or for content search, research, maybe. You can actually see AI technology as well as tools being actively used for content designing, for development, whether it is for text to voice over generation, whether it is text to video generation, or it is for quiz creation, or even creating complete published courses right from the text prompts. So we can see that, the complete end-to-end workflow is experiencing a big shift and a change. All of this is obviously because of the rapid expansion of the AI integrated tools, which are being used off the shelf. Of course, we are seeing tools like Beyond and Synthesia, who are already integrating the AI technology. But a major shift that is also happening is that organizations themselves, the L&D organizations and many other players, are already coming up with their own custom authoring tools that have those AI integrated capabilities. And these are getting integrated with other systems in the organization, whether these are performance systems or these are the HR, recruitment systems and onboarding systems and so on. So obviously, the L&D space is not in isolation. It is going to actually impact a lot of other variations as well in terms of how overall the work of IDs is changing. So obviously we see that the role of the IDs is going to evolve. The skill sets that are going to be are required are definitely evolving. Another interesting thing that we observed through some of the surveys that were conducted were that now that it's been 1.5 years or so, the end users are actually getting to see AI generated content. There are training that are being consumed totally created by the AI. And the feedback and opinion of the end users has also started coming in. And it was very interesting to see through that survey that the users in many cases were obviously excited about the possibilities of personalization of learning, of having a ready coach for support and so on. But in many domains or different areas of learning, they also wanted the content to be validated by subject matter expert, or there were certain areas like soft skills and others where they still wanted to have an instructor who would handhold and lead them through the learning experience. So obviously, it is not like the AI is replacing instructional designers, but it is definitely augmenting our capabilities. And that is what the data and the surveys that we're going through shows up. In fact, there was a very interesting experiment that was recently run by a leading L&D researcher, Dr. Philippa Hardman. If you've been following her blogs, you might have come across this as well. So this interesting experiment was where she had three cases of profiles of using creating core instructional design work, like creating learning objectives or learning strategy and so content outline. And in one case, it was being done by an experienced instructional designer. In the second case, it was being done by a novice ID with the support of AI. And in the third case, it was being done by an experienced ID along with the support of AI. And the results or the outcomes were evaluated, open to evaluation by a group of people. An interesting insight that came from that was that optimal work performance was happening when we were able to combine the powers of expert human and AI. So clearly it means that we do need to upskill ourselves so that even as experienced IDs, even as expertise with instructional design, we are able to leverage and work upon the advantage that AI offers us. The question definitely comes across as like, where do we use AI and what is it the value that the IDs can bring in? And this is few things based on the way we have seen AI performing and in ID Assist as well that we have observed is we could definitely leverage AI advantages for tasks which are text and writing intensive. So things like writing learning objectives, creating content outline, even basic content generation. Translation is definitely a big advantage that we are seeing with the kind of prowess it shows across languages and real-time translation. Content interpretation, which is definitely a big use case where IDs have always had to struggle in the content analysis, where in a very less time, we have to process and make sense of huge humongous amount of source content. So content interpretation is definitely a big support using AI. Image and video generation, these are the new changes that we are seeing in the AI-based tools, whether we are looking at Synthesia or Midjourney and so on. You have these tools which can actively help you with image generation, suggestions, or even easy text-to-video creation. So a lot of these tasks are something where we can definitely improve upon the productivity and efficiency of instructional designers using the support of AI technology. But there are certain things that we would definitely want the instructional design expertise to come in, and that's where the IDs can add value, which is where, like, from a learner end user's perspective, they still want a humanized learning experience. With our subject matter experts, we can help them and support them still, of course, using AI and templates. But again, those interactions could be driven better through experienced IDs. Aligning the learning process to the business vision. Okay, so connecting the learning outcomes to the business outcomes so that we have a holistic learning platforms. Creativity and innovation in solution. Now, of course, we do have the capability of AI to create things like, generate the first draft of our learning strategies, but something more creative where we're thinking of, okay, so how do I use a soft skill course and how do I train somebody on values and business values using, let's say, an Harry Potter theme or something else, something like which unconnects totally different type of subjects together. Those kind of creativity and innovation is something that definitely is required by human expertise or our expertise as IDs. And again, not the least, human judgment and ethical considerations in terms of what data we pick up, what information we release, what do we use to build our scenarios. I think those kind of judgment are best executed by instructional designers. So a combination of these is what we see as the way ahead for IDs, and that definitely calls for some level of upskilling and cross-skilling to be able to remain relevant as instructional designers going forward. So what's the best way to do that? The easiest way is to stay current with the rapid AI advancements, being current with the AI models and the tools that are coming up with. So let's delve right into it and see what these models are. But before we do, let's quickly establish which models are you already working with. We know ChatGPT, probably most of you would be working with, but if you have other preferences, please do go ahead and let us know. So the poll for this one is open now, and please take a moment to make your best choice.
Yeah. And it would really be interesting to see if you have used any other tool other than, of course, OpenAI, and feel free to select that because right now we are just doing a single choice poll.
Yeah.
And if you're using others, feel free to put it in the chat window as well.
So I see some using MS Copilot.
Yes. All right.
Right. Perplexity. Right. Mhm.
Great.
Okay. So a lot of Copilot users. That's
Yes.
it. Okay. So I think the overwhelming use is still of ChatGPT, probably because just by the sheer being there for so long. It's been the
Yes.
first one, and it has built some level of comfort for the users. But
Yeah.
I do see people using Copilot and
Mhm.
Gemini and Claude as well. Of course, I don't think so. So the exposure is that much. So
Mhm.
I think the session would help in trying to establish what these models are, Sandeep. They look very confusing. I know recently you were sharing so many, news items about what Google can do with Gemini workspace and
Yeah.
what Claude has its strength as. So I think let's do a deep dive into that and
Sure.
go and look at these models. And I'll like to hand it
Mhm.
over to you, Sandeep, because you're the expert in here. So please tell us something more about these models.
Sure, Priyanka. So I'll share what our findings have been, and we have been keeping up to date with all the different models that have been releasing, as well as the tools which integrate these models. So, like right now, we saw a lot of people mention Copilot and some other tools. Uh, but what happens is in the background, they do use these models and as APIs within these tools. So just for people who are very new to artificial intelligence, here's a short definition of AI. So artificial intelligence is basically just about simulating human intelligence in machines so that they are able to perform tasks or actions that require human intelligence. And that's a very overarching definition of artificial intelligence. And then we have generative AI models, or also known as large language models, which are a subset of AI. And basically, what they do is they are trained on humongous amount of data in the form of text, images, audio, as well as videos. And once they are trained, we can use these models to query them and get some response to our queries. And the queries can be in the form of text, or even we can import images, audio, and videos. And the output can be, again, one of these different modes. Now, the generative AI models which support all of these different models are known as multimodal generative AI models, and which are becoming more and more popular these days. So that on the top, you can see these four models, which are typically known as frontier models. Frontier because of the scale at which they are trained, as well as the amount of compute on which they are trained. So like I mentioned, they're trained on humongous data, which runs into really trillions of words when it comes to text, or billions of images and videos and so on. And they're trained on large GPU clusters or servers, which comprise of, let's say, tens of thousands, or even nowadays hundreds of thousands of GPUs. And which is the reason why these models are called frontier models, because they have very high capabilities and features which are probably not present in smaller models. And we'll talk more about these models and how they compare across different tasks and strengths. And there are also a few very specialized image generation models, such as Stable Diffusion, Flux, Midjourney, and DALI. And we'll talk about them as well. So Priyanka, if we can just go to the next section. Yeah, so this table, what we have done is we tried to encapsulate the different models, the frontier models, which is typically the OpenAI or the ChatGPT model from OpenAI, the Gemini from Google, and the Claude series of models from Anthropic. So these are currently the topmost frontier models. And like you mentioned, like many of you mentioned, the tools, typically these tools end up using one of these three models in the background as well. So they differ across different aspects, such as language proficiency and context window and so on. Now, ChatGPT, if you look at OpenAI, ChatGPT has been there from a long time. So currently it's in the fifth iteration of model, starting from GPT-1, then 2, 3, 3.5, 4, and right now it's 4.0. Being a very old model, it's been trained and retrained a lot of times, and that's where it's very powerful when it comes to strong contextual understanding of content. Uh, and Gemini, like we know, it's from Google. So Google has a lot of data, inherent data across all of its platforms, including Google Workspace and Gmail, YouTube, and so on. That's where it shows strong capabilities when it comes to multimodal understanding of content. And whereas all these models typically are, there's one big deficiency in these models is they don't really have nuanced understanding or logical reasoning capabilities. And that's where Anthropic is trying very hard to bring these capabilities to their cloud model. And currently we can see its reasoning capabilities are better than the other two models. Uh, there's another important aspect to look at is the context window on in terms of how much content it can process for each query at a time. So you can think of ChatGPT, and we can feed in up to 128,000 tokens or equivalent of 300 pages, or let's say one 300-page novel, and we can ask it to summarize, let's say, in 100 words, and it would be able to do that pretty good by taking in the entire context of the novel. Uh, Google takes it 10 steps further, and the context window is almost about 1 million tokens right now, or equivalent to 3,000 pages. And we can think of it in terms of, let's say, a series, entire series of Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, and it can summarize the entire series as of now. Or even when it comes to videos, like 1 hour of video or 11 hours of audio. So pretty good when it comes to context, large context. Uh, There are unique features, of course, across all these models. ChatGPT is very versatile. It can handle content across a lot of different domains, including healthcare, legal, and so on. You can even, like, people use it to create scripts and movie scripts and, let's say, poems and all kinds of things. Uh, Unique feature about Google is they are integrating it with the Google Workspace, like Google Docs and the slides, as well as with YouTube and Gmail and Google Maps. So it provides a lot of value in context value within their application. Uh, there's something called as artifacts, which Anthropic has, which is really a cool feature, and it provides you the output of what you are trying to do. Like, for example, if you are trying to come up with a diagram or a layout, it simultaneously in real time, it can show you the output, a visual output, or even you can think of if you're creating an interactive widget, and it can create a prototype of that very quickly on the fly. Uh, Another important consideration is the multimodal input and output capabilities. So currently, OpenAI has pretty good capabilities when it comes to all three modes, like text, image, and audio. It can both input and output in these formats. Google has even video capabilities as input, but as of now, only text as an output. Uh, and there are strengths, of course, because of these capabilities across all these models, wherein Anthropic Claude is really good when it comes to reasoning, and we can use it for data analytics, and it really scores good with coding kind of tasks. And whereas Google Gemini, because of the large context window, we can work with humongous amount of data at a given time across different modes. And these are the current models, model versions across all of these frontier models. And we can see how we can leverage this within instructional design as well as learning and the design field as well. And Priyanka, if you can just talk about that,
Sure,
it will be
Sandeep.
great.
So
Yeah.
we've looked at the overall capabilities of these models and how do they
Mhm.
compare. And I know it started off with text, but it's become multimodal, and that has obviously raised the capabilities. So going back to looking at it from in context of L&D tasks, so OpenAI, which works really good with text and predicting text, is best used for storyboarding and text writing kind of activities. So where we are doing writing your learning objectives or creating content outline or content generation, even creating first draft of your learning strategies or creating a draft of your scenarios or using it for translation. So all of these are strong advantages of ChatGPT, and that's what you see integrated in ID Assist also. And you can perform all of these core ID tasks in ID Assist as well. Uh, for Gemini, as it is coming from Google, it has strong multimedia content processing, and therefore, as Sandeep was saying, the context window is huge, and really you can put a voluminous content, source content into it in different formats, in videos, PDFs, and audio, and all your source content can be summarized. You can generate introductions, and so all of those kind of tasks are Gemini is best suited for that. So processing text, image, video, and audio content, and handling the large source content. Uh, Anthropic's Claude, as Sandeep was highlighting, has stronger reasoning and logic building. So therefore, using it for scenarios like where you're doing technical writing or you're creating technical trainings, or you have visual data interpretation, you're creating those charts and you're trying to interpret and analyze information from there. You have simulations which are using logical sequencing or structuring in some way, assessments which have to be adaptive, or you're increasing the levels. So for all of these kind of tasks, Claude is capabilities are better suited. So it is depending on these. Of course, it calls for a lot of experimentation to see what works best for you, in considering the kind of courses you're creating, the subject domain that you're working with, the level of audience that you have. But these are the known advantages as of now. Of course, that can change very soon with the new versions that get released. Uh, but this is what we can experiment and explore, and these are the areas which are their strong points. Now, the question that does arise is that, how do you keep doing that? So the logistics of getting different subscription, and then using those different windows to switch between between the different models can be a little overwhelming. So we also struggled with that as we were experimenting, and that's logically led to the next feature of ID Assist, where we've tried to put together the capabilities and make these available in a single video, or a single platform or a single window. So ID Assist, the new feature of ID Assist is that it is integrated with all the three models, and you can actually switch between the models depending on what kind of task or activity you are performing. So many of you are ID Assist users, you already know. But for those who might be new, it is the AI-enabled tool that is designed specially for instructional designers to boost AI literacy and provide a guided platform to explore and experiment with the AI models. So it has a robust prompt engineering architecture, which provides you with predefined prompts for all the core ID tasks that are performed during the content development workflow. And it allows you to execute not just black box commands like many AI tools, but rather, whether you are generating a content outline, let's say, or writing learning objectives, or creating scenarios, you can actually see the prompt that we are sending into the tool, and you can learn through that. You can modify and experiment with it and improve upon the quality of the output based on your needs. And again, with the new capability, you can switch between the AI models as well to experiment across the models and analyze the output as per your need. So currently, to help the instructional designers who are working across different modes, we have the original Google Doc extension for the tool. ID Assist is also available as a Microsoft Word add-in now. And if you look up, you can also, if you have a ChatGPT subscription, you can actually use ChatGPT, ID Assist GPT within ChatGPT as well. So as a specialized GPT. So these are the three ways you can access the ID Assist tool. Let's quickly go and look at real quickly and how you work with ID Assist and how you can work with these three models. So just give me a moment and I'll try to switch.
Yes, and meanwhile, so just answering the questions. Yes, we will be sharing the slide and recording of this presentation with everyone. And we'll answer some of the questions towards the end of this session. But please feel free to drop in your questions in the Q&A section.
Yeah. So you can see I'm sharing the Google Doc version of the tool right now. You have it available once you install it under the extensions. You can launch ID Assist. It loads up as a widget on the right-hand side as a panel. And if you look at this, these are the predefined ID tasks that you can perform using the tool. So these are modeled very closely to the kind of tasks that you would perform in the content development workflow across the different phases of the ADDIE model. So, you are in the analysis phase, you probably need to summarize and paraphrase large amount of source content, or you're trying to look at what kind of learning outcomes and goals you would have for this content, generate the first draft of your learning objectives. And for each of these, you have prompts that have been created using the best practices of instructional design, using the theories and the models that we all use while creating or conducting these tasks. Learning strategy, draft creation. So when you move to development, you have options like creating scenarios or quiz or FAQs, or creating your introductory animation scripts, video scripts. Within development, you have more options like generating images. So not just doing visualization notes, but you can actually generate images. You can actually also do a quick audio generation. So if you have your audio script ready, you can directly put that text to audio conversion by using the audio generation option. If you would like to publish different versions of your storyboard in different languages. You also have translation options. So it is actually like a assistant for the IDs across different phases of content development workflow. The way it typically works is you just need to put your source content into the document, and you need to select that source content. So let's say, yeah, let me just pick this up. Let's say this is my source content. You pick that, select that, go back to the tool, select what kind of instructional design task you would like to apply on this content. So let's say I want to generate a content outline. And as I was saying, with the option, you also get to see what is the prompt that is going into the tool. So it says create a content outline using ISD for the web-based training to be created for the given content. It should have modules, lesson topics, and subtopics, and so on. Of course, there is a lot more information which is also encapsulated in this prompt. And more details about that are there in our course, which is specifically on how to use ID Assist across content development workflow. But once you have done that, you click generate, and you would have the output in this window. And using the insert button, you can actually insert it into your document. So in the interest of time, I've run this just before our session. And as you can see, there is a content outline that was neatly generated with proper indentation, modules, lesson, the kind of titles that we would use with topic numbering and proper nesting for the entire content outline. So that's a great way to get started, have a first draft of the task done for you, and you could like improve upon your efficiency and productivity using this tool as an assistant. The big thing that you can see is currently it is working with ChatGPT from OpenAI in the background. But if I wanted to change my model, I just click on it, and I have options of switching to Gemini or to Claude. And I could actually instantly run the same command using a different AI model. So that actually opens up a lot of possibilities for me to work with my content, try out different commands, and actually see how the output varies, improves with the use of different AI models. Sandeep, anything that you would like to add to this?
No, Priyanka, I think we are good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to just switch back to our presentation. Okay. So ID Assist is definitely working as an assistant for the instructional designer. The way it has been designed is specifically for the task that we perform for content creation in the content development workflow. But as you all, many of you are already, using the tools, you would have seen that there are many tools that can be used in course development and course production, whether it is for audio, for video, for actually publishing the entire course. And let's take a quick look at what are these tools. One of the strongest new tools that are coming up are under the image generator models. And that's what we are going to look up next. But before we go into that, let's quickly check with everyone on which tools are you using for course production. So you would have this poll opened up in the poll window. I request you to take a minute and just put in your choices. Okay, so we have people using Synthesia, Microsoft Designer, some using Beyond. Okay, if you could mention in chat windows what the others are, that would be interesting to know which are the other tools that you've been using. So Canva, 7 Tabs, Padlet, right? Yeah. Again, our use cases are driving the tools that we are using for development. Articulate, yeah. Okay, wonderful. So a lot of different tools are being used across the teams, and it's interesting to see the wide variety of tools everyone is using for content development and production. Um, so while we're talking about the AI models, overall, I think Sandeep talked about that image generation models are also there, and they are gaining popularity. So let's first look at those image generators and how they compare with each other. Sandeep, would you help us understand what these image generators are and how they work?
Sure, Priyanka. Yeah. So yeah, we know, like many of you mentioned, you are already using a lot of the tools for content authoring, but there are some tools which are or models which are very specifically designed for image generation, like how ChatGPT and others really excel at text generation, and now of course they are building in the multimodal capabilities as well. So DALI 3 or Flux, Stable Diffusion, then designer tools which integrate these models such as Microsoft Designer or Firefly from Adobe. Now, these really help us create visual presentations or images of any kinds or any different kinds and styles. We can also edit the images within this tool. There's another interesting feature for character design and poses, which is really helpful if you're creating some kind of scenarios that we want to extend the characters through different poses and situations. These tools also create 3D objects, which again is pretty helpful for very specialized trainings. If you want to really show a very detailed 3D models out of it. Uh, and another interesting aspect in which we tend to miss is data visualization. So these tools can also create visual data, like present data in visual forms, such as graphs and charts from Excel sheets, or even transform within themselves. Like, for example, if you have a bar chart and you want to transform it to a pie chart, you can use these AI models to do that very quickly. And we'll look at some of these frontier models again when it comes to image generation. So there are popular three models: DALI 3, Stable Diffusion, and Flux. Flux is a very new entrant in this. And again, these models differ in terms of their strengths and capabilities as of now, with different versions coming out. So from what we have seen and experienced is DALI 3 is really good when it comes to creating creative and abstract visuals. And if you can think of, this is really good for artistic content or abstract visuals, and we can use them pretty effectively in terms of enhancing engagement in educational material. And we'll talk more about some use cases. The image quality of DALI is really diverse, so you can create diverse kind of images from it, and you can really play around with its creativity and imagination. When we talk of the Flux, which is the latest entrance, it really is good when it comes to precision and detail. So you can really write a very detailed prompt, and it will be able to try and map to those details and come up with an output. So really good when it comes to high fidelity representations. Let's say if you're doing technical diagrams or some medical illustrations or architectural plans, then Flux is pretty good at it. And not just with uh, imaginative artwork, but it's also really good with human-like figures or photorealistic image representations. And Staple Diffusion really falls in between DALI 3 and Flux. So it takes inputs from both. It's good at both creative and abstract as well as at precision. But of course, the quality might differ or might be subpar than DALI 3 and Flux. So it's really good if you are trying to balance the quality and come up quickly with different kind of images. Very good for time sensitive projects. It's also cheaper in cost in some sense, and we can see its application. If we can think of these strengths, we can really use them effectively in different kind of e-learning or content that we create as part of our trainings. And Priyanka, if you want to just quickly highlight some of that.
So I'm just thinking loud,
Hmm.
Sandeep, like, if I were to create gamification backgrounds and, those
Mhm.
kind of scenarios, probably something more artistic, like DALL-E 3 is what I would go for. If I was creating a level one training, I quickly want to publish something and I want to
Mhm.
create some, let's say, refresher, flashcards and all, then probably Stable Diffusion is something I can go with. As you said, it's cheaper as well. And if I were to, let's say, create trainings which are specific models or machinery and things like that, I need precision, then probably Flux would
Mhm.
be my go-to model. Would that be correct?
That's right, Priyanka. So we can leverage the strengths of each of these models, and we have experimented with some of them. And just to show you some examples, Priyanka, if you can show some samples as well on the
Sure.
next screens on how the output differs from this. And we have a very detailed blog on our website as well. Feel free to go through that after this session. So the first one, like the DALL-E 3, the output is from DALL-E 3. And here you can see it's very imaginative and very creative. We are talking of some autumn leaves and playing a band in a night in a forest under a moonlight. And it's able to take this prompt and create a pretty good imaginative visual. And that's where we said like DALL-E 3 really excels at these kind of things. And whereas if you look at that other example on the right hand side, now the prompt was a young man with spectacles and talking and giving a speech with his left hand raised and a mic in his right hand, and there are some logos in the background, and wearing a gray sweatshirt with a badge. So we gave in a lot of details, and it's able to come up with a very photorealistic kind of an output. Now, if we try to do this in, let's say, DALL-E 3, the output won't really match that much. But because Flux really excels at precision, it is able to do that. And this is another example where it's a pretty complicated visual, wherein it's a laboratory in a different settings, and each detail is explained within the lab, and we are able to create a pretty good output. So yeah, a lot of possibilities open up, and we can experiment with these models. We can see which one better suits in which kind of use case and scenario. And like Priyanka mentioned earlier, instructional designers probably just used to mention the visual representation in description, but now you can also try out and see the output and probably give better directions to designers.
And Idea Assist also offers us an opportunity to try out these models. So if you go to the image generator option, you will be able to switch between these models. So you could switch between Flux, DALL-E, and the other Stable Diffusion, and actually try out the output and see which one works best for the kind of content that you're working with. So that's about the main models. And of course, then there are a lot of tools. So we'll quickly go through this list. Many of these you have already mentioned. So for animation, video, and presentations, you have Synthesia, Canva, Beyond, HN, and so on. If you're creating two-dimensional kind of videos with characters generated, Synthesia is your go-to video creation model. Um, as you can see in the picture, that's a Synthesia generated video.
Welcome to Value Selling Fundamentals.
So just with
This
the
video
text prompt,
explores the key principles and some tips to become an expert.
so with just a text prompt, you can actually create quick videos. Similarly, you have audio generators from text to speech to synthetic voices, even for voice cloning and just generating music loops. And they actually have very good quality. So for a lot of trainings, actively teams are opting for these synthetic voiceovers. So let's just quickly see that.
To illustrate the concept of climate change, let's use the analogy of a greenhouse. A
So that's
greenhouse is a
pretty good,
structure
you'd
with
say,
walls
right?
and a roof made chiefly of transparent material, such as glass, in which plants requiring regulated climatic conditions are grown.
And then we have text to video. So I think somebody was asking if we have a 360 image generation, and Sora would kind of qualify for that, Sandeep, right?
Yes. So these tools or these models, the video models, AI models are still under development. Very few beta versions are out. OpenAI AI hasn't released Sora yet, but there are some others like Runway, model called Generative Alpha, and there's one from Luma AI. Uh, so these are still very primitive. They are still in the beta version, and you get kind of like a 5 second or a 10-second video output. And you can play around with this. Like you can put in a text prompt, given details, and it tries to come out with a video clip. But as the AI models advance, I'm pretty sure like within few months and quarters, we will be able to generate highly realistic videos of different situations and different use cases, and probably a longer videos as well. So this is the video models are still evolving, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the long list of tools that we have. Of course, we also have new tools for complete publishment of quizzes or micro learning. So we have Quiz Assist by ID Assist, which you can use to generate quiz items and assessment items as MCQs and many other types as well. It actually creates a final published version for you, which is ready to use and deploy on the LMS. Similarly, you have Knowledge AI, where you can put in the content and you can actually generate a micro learning. 7Tabs is another tools that is gaining quite a popularity. So these are some other tools that you are used for direct publishing. You can direct convert your text or source content into the final published course. But again, most of these are still evolving and have limited capabilities. Which brings us to many questions that were also coming up in our chat window and also in Q&A of how ethical it is, what does it mean for the IDs, what does it mean for learning overall. And of course, as content creators, as instructional designers, as gatekeepers of learning, I think it's important for all of us to understand that there is a lot of responsibility that's required in using these tools and technology. There are ethical considerations that have to be considered as well. And these are the 4 areas where we felt as IDs, we require to be careful while using the technology and the tools. First and foremost, I think everyone does talk about that, is data privacy and security. So many times we are working with content that is coming directly from the client. It might be confidential content, and then what you're putting out on the tools while you're generating your videos or you're generating any other kind of content outline, or let's say any other thing or scenarios, what content do you have, what is the usage policy within your organization, is there transparency with your customer while using these technologies and tools. I think those are important questions to be considered during content development. Explainability is the other criteria, which is where explainability in terms of AI is being able to explain where and how the content was generated by AI. And that is in context of L&D content. It's essentially tracing back in terms of what is the source of that content? Do we have references, source references? Can we have citations from where this content or this recommendations are coming from? Bias mitigation is the other thing that we need to be really careful about, because as these models were trained on data coming from the internet, there are inherent biases in these systems, and that those are something, whether you're generating scenarios or you're generating examples, you have to be careful about they are not seeping into your content, and how do you make sure that it is equitable content for everyone. And last but not the least is the human oversight, the human touch, the human look at what the overall learning experience is going to be. So nothing ever goes directly from AI to the learner. Definitely, it requires a human side of oversight, of review, analysis, mapping to your audience, mapping it back to the requirements, and definitely ensuring that the overall learning experience or the personalization does not compromise the basic requirements that are there for a particular project or a requirement for learning. So those are the 4 areas where I think do require conscious use of AI. With that, we are moving towards the end of the session. So a quick look at the future of AI and what it means for the IDs. We're really at the top of the hour, so we'll just quickly go through these. Um, so what we can expect is higher quality output, faster, cheaper, larger context windows. So what we have, just more of that. Multimodal capabilities will enhance and improve. Agentic workflows is something that is still, in probably in discussion phase and in POC phase, but something which can be implemented where an entire workflow can be automated using AI. Reduced biases, which are already there, reduced hallucinations, greater privacy, and data confidentiality. That's what we can expect from more and better improved AI models. For us, what it means is to upskill and cross-skill ourselves. Some of the things that are definitely required to stay relevant is build AI literacy by exploring the AI models. So, we cannot really stay away whether we are for or against AI. It is there to stay and to remain competitive in the industry. Build that AI literacy by exploring the models and the tool. Master prompt engineering for the ID related tasks. So the art of sending that instruction in natural language processing using NLP, build analytical and data processing skills. I think that's definitely an area where IDs can contribute a lot more, because a lot of this personalization coaching would depend on how we are able to interpret the user data that is being collected by our LMS and LXPs and so on. Experiment with AI authoring and authoring tools to enhance cross-functional skills. So as Sandeep was saying, the boundaries between graphic designers, visual designers, IDs, and probably they're going to blur very soon. And it would be helpful if we know how to use tools like image generators, like post production, and so on. And the best way to do that is to stay updated by reading blogs, learning, experimenting with these tools, and of course, making sure that you're updating that on your resume as well, because AI will raise the ceiling and lower the floor for instructional design. So that's the quick thought at the end. Sandeep, anything that you would like to add before we just take a quick look at the questions that we have?
No, Priyanka, I think we are good. And yes, we are top of the hour and we will be sharing this recording, but we'll just stretch by like 5 minutes or so just to answer some of the questions. And probably I'll just take a minute to do that. And like we saw right now, and that's our experience as well, both Priyanka and mine. We have been fortunate to be closely associated with the AI progress in the last 3 years across different iterations of the models. And what we have seen is it's definitely increasing at an exponential pace, and all the limitations that are present keep getting uh, keep getting fixed with the new iterations, and more capabilities keep coming up. So a lot of the comments like we see on the chat, as well as there are some still some limitations, like of course it's very bad when it comes to anatomy and the fingers. There's always an extra finger in most cases. The spellings are bad, but again, if we play around with these tools, like for example, I was very surprised with Flux because it does a good job with spellings. And that is one of the first image models that I saw, which is pretty good. It's not there yet perfectly, but it's pretty good. Same with human anatomy as well. Like if you see the photorealistic images and the videos from these new tools like Flux and Stable Diffusion, they are probably 10 or 20 times better than what it was just few months back, like 6 months back. So if we look at the trend, we are pretty sure it's keeps getting better. And that's one of the reasons like why Priyanka said we can't ignore this technology for sure. We have to keep pace with this. And Priyanka, yeah, we can probably just close if you want to share something.
Sure. So I think the only thing we can do is keep learning, keep experimenting, and we do have IDSs to help you in your AI enablement journey. So you have the different modes of available across Word, Google Docs, and the GPT plugin. And you could also try out Quiz Assist, which is the SCORM compliant quiz output, and experiment with all the different AI models and image generators. To get you started, if you would still like to explore more about how ID Assist works and how You could use the prompt engineering best practices in different phases of content development workflow across analysis, design development, and so on. How these particular commands have been built and how best to use them. We do have a starter course of AI-enabled instructional design course. This is an on-demand course with 6 hours duration, and you could definitely look that up. We'll also post the link to that in the chat if you're so interested. And yes, I think keep learning within with ID Assist or anywhere else. But I think keep learning is the most important thing in the era where everything is changing so fast. Thank you so much again for joining us today, and it's been a delight to have you all here.
Yes, thanks everyone. And just feel free to drop us an email if you'd like to chat with us on not just ID Assist, but in general on any AI. If you have any questions, we love talking to people who are interested in this field and like to share our experiences and also learn from you. So feel free to get in touch with us at any point of time.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, and we'll be seeing you again soon. Thanks a lot for joining.
Yes, thanks. And we'll be sharing this recording with everyone. Thank you, all of you. Have a nice day ahead.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.